but not trying to get closure. And some of this is this humility of complexity science. So another is rigor requires integrating first, second, and third person perspectives. So that could be like a gold standard for rigor in this community,
Mm.
because oftentimes it's doing either one or the other or the third, right? So in science, they just do third person. In contemplation, they just do first person. There's second person, especially as Yair pointed out, I think, between this like guru-disciple relationship, teacher-disciple relationship, right? Is something magical happens there that cannot happen in any other way. And also the social and communicative nature of science. Next, the universe is made of adaptive, intelligent parts, not inert mechanisms. So this is going back to some of what Mike Levin was talking about, and this, each cell inside your body is already can be a fully functioning independent organism. So that's a perspective that's often kind of misunderstood. Uh, and science as a contemplative tradition, striving for discovery over closure. Goes back also to the generative tension. Um, Open non-sectarianism, balance between traditions. So oftentimes in this contemplative science practice, there is an emphasis on Buddhism. It tends to be kind of largely represented or skewed towards Buddhist perspective because it's somehow more empirically oriented Buddhism is, and so feels like a good connection point. And here we were just saying it's nice that there is this balance with Father Robert here presenting the Christian perspective and also Christianity as a good connection point because of its rigorous philosophical tradition in theology. That right, like a lot of the priests have basically a PhD in philosophy, almost, right? At least in Father Roberts, I guess, Opus Dei. So, yeah, so that balance. And I guess a question that Jen put up here is this is who do we serve? What do we seek? So, are we focusing on science, on knowledge, or on wisdom, right? Is science the goal, or is contemplation the goal, or is there a goal? Or should there be a goal, I should say. So this is not, we were kind of hoping here for answers more, but I thought that this was a really good point to bring up. So maybe I'll just put it kind of separately at the top because this isn't an answer to the question. It's more of a follow-up of this question. Yeah. Okay. So everybody should have edit permissions in this. So maybe if you guys want to do like little what is it like plus ones to the ones that you like, and then just update the number. Does that not make sense? That might not make sense.
We could just do pluses. So
Yeah, that's
we're
smart.
just
Yeah, let's
counting
just do pluses. Yeah, yeah. Just put pluses at the end. There you go.
both.
Otherwise, we'll be conflicting with each other. So I guess. And try not to put pluses for everything, even if you like everything, but to give a little bit of like what you think is more or less important.
Pavel, can I just a quick question just for clarification? I'm trying to understand. So, um, ideas or assumptions or beliefs we agree on, and the pluses reflect you agree or you think it's important or
Yeah, that this is important, right? To find like the top things in the space of what we agree on that others don't, like what defines us as a community,
yeah.
right?
So I
And
think I want to say something about the bigger question, which is
yeah.
and I don't know, it's not, this is not very constructive, I guess, in some ways,
Mhm.
but I think it's kind of like I forget the term in English, but um, I'm sort of doubtful about the
Uh-huh.
others don't part. I
About
don't,
the
the others don't. part.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't think that that's the case.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sure, of course, like people, but like I think there's a lot of organizations that
Hmm.
think a lot of these things quite similarly, actually, quite a few. And so I don't know how I don't know how important that actually is for figuring out what the group is about. Also remembering that this group is just who's here at the moment.
Yeah.
But to really have impact, the whole point is dialogue and learning from and integrating
Yeah.
and yeah. Does that make
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know the question definitely can sound pretty annoying. Can say that others don't appreciate as much. It's not that others don't agree with it. It's that others don't emphasize. There you go. Emphasize. That's the one I mean. Um, and the reason why that's important is because like we kind of need to figure out, like how are we not the same as Mind Life? Because we don't want to do the same thing that already exists,
well, it's
right?
definitely not mind and life, but I think part of
Mhm.
this, and I just want to share
Yeah.
that, like, I think that it's hard. This is difficult. I think we should, my hunch is at the moment, we didn't spend a day or two or three learning about others and other systems and other
Mhm.
places and other groups.
Yeah.
So I think we I have no idea actually about
Mhm.
that, or little
Mhm.
idea, other
Yeah.
than my own
Yeah.
anecdotal snippets. Whereas I think looking in to what this group
Mhm.
hopes to aspire to and what assumptions underlie that, what motivates that, because we might discover that the four or five quite large complexity science organizations that are out in the world, there are these
Mhm.
large societies that are focused on system science and complexity
Yeah.
science
Yeah.
that are multidisciplinary, are actually really aligned
Mhm.
with what it is that we
Yeah.
aspire to. And maybe that's part of the direction that the group ultimately evolves. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think this is why we're doing this collectively, right? That
yeah,
none of
totally.
us know everything about what's out there, but by doing this together, maybe we can have a little bit of
Yeah.
crowdsource our knowledge
Yeah.
about what other
Yeah.
organizations and what sets us apart, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I
Right.
guess yeah.
There is the challenge of this like us versus them thing, which we don't want to
Yeah.
necessarily fall into.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there is, right, like again, it's almost like how do you address the question when you describe this thing and then people are like, oh, that's exactly what Mind and Life is doing. And it's like, well, but is there a way in which it's not? And is there a way in which it's not that we can agree on that it's not, right?
Well, if it's
But
anything, it's closer to ISCR.
sorry, yeah, that's the one I
Yeah.
kept trying to remember. Yeah.
Except
Yes,
that that's
yes.
not about at all
Thanks.
about complexity.
Yeah.
There's nothing inherent there
Yeah.
about complexity, but in terms of things like, most of these ideas about reality, about first,
Yeah.
second, third person, these ideas that come from Varela, or
Mhm. Mhm.
contemplative traditions. These are things that are
Yeah.
like literally built into the, I don't know, mission
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
ISCR. It's not that different.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I really like, yeah, I've been trying to remember the name of that that
Yeah,
that
it's
place.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one that's closest, I agree. And
Hmm.
yeah, and I appreciate you bringing this up. It's definitely a good point that I kind of felt like that this pushback would come up. So I'm glad you voiced it so
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
could
Well,
address
I think
it.
it's good that it's just
Mhm.
for remembering that, like, yeah.
And I think maybe a positive way of framing it is in terms of that first question, who do we serve? And
Yeah.
like, what is the specific service that we hope this kind of group can provide
Right.
that we so far don't see being like addressed right now? So maybe someone actually is providing that service, but that we
That's
haven't
right.
experienced anyone
Yeah.
doing that, and we
Right.
feel like we might be able to provide that in
Yeah.
some new way.
Right. Right.
Okay, so
The need.
has
Right.
everyone voted more or less? It's very even. There's really not a not any substantial distribution between this. Do you feel like anything is missing from this list? Anyone?
I just want to say I very much like this first sentence. What do we seek knowledge or wisdom?
Hmm.
I think this is very important and somehow very much missing in universities at the moment. That
Hmm.
teach knowledge, but but don't discuss wisdom.
Hmm.
And I think here we could do something very useful.
Hmm.
And so when I'm thinking of my students, once a year or once a term, I want them to get involved in a discussion where I ask them, what do you think that life is about?
Mhm.
Why are you here? Typically, that's very surprising for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're gonna have to stick with all of
Can
them
I
being great. Yeah.
can I dovetail really quick on what Martin said? Uh, I've done a lot of thinking about how I layer knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom as knowledge being the set of facts, intelligence as how I can synthesize those into coherent structure, and then wisdom being the abstraction of the ability to discern when the framework itself needs to update.
Yes,
I don't know if that resonates with anyone else.
yes, you have to write that down. You have to write that down for us and send it to all of us.
Okay, I will.
Hmm.
I mean, this last thing I call a worldview for a better term. So I always think, what's your worldview?
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, Wolfgang?
Yeah, there's one thing I wonder if it fits here, but when I think back over these last couple of days, I sometimes repeatedly, and sometimes especially during the contemplative interventions, the texts that were read, etc.,
Mhm.
at the risk of sounding like a romantic, for better or worse, yeah, but it brings forth in me a sense of awe, and I find that this sense of awe, or whatever name you want to give it, um, if that meets the curiosity and the rigor that you try to apply to some inquiry, it's a very fruitful combination. The awe aspect maybe opens up something around also seeking wisdom and not just knowledge for kind of smartness sake, but also a kind of, I don't know, humility or reverence. Now I'm using some of these like flowery terms perhaps, but I can barely describe it better. But I wonder if there is something, I don't know if it has to be written. Maybe it's enough that I just give voice to it now. Um, that if the way in which we gather, the way in which we explore and practice together helps, among other qualities, to cultivate that sense. It's a little bit like cultivating mindfulness, but it's a little bit different of it.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's because, I mean, for me, that's kind of like even talking about gives me goosebumps. I don't know if that means something or not. Yeah, it means something for me at least. So I wanted to bring it up. I don't know how to formalize
here
it.
I was at the New York Encounter, which is a very nice meeting organized by Italian Catholics, a very large meeting, and they asked me to give a talk on awe.
Hmm.
Actually, there was a session with two speakers, and it was about awe.
Hmm.
And so awe is another, I think, very important word that you're bringing up, like wisdom, awe.
Hmm.
And I think awe is something that is there in the research world. There's kind of an awe when you think about the problem. But I think it's a very important thing to bring up. Because what we forget is kind of humility. I think religion, contemplation teaches you humility. And if you lose humility, you have a much more complicated perspective of the world.
Hmm.
That yes.
Yeah, I think that ties into how Pavel was describing the significance of complexity science, or like what he understands by complexity science, is also arriving at that perspective of epistemic humility. So I do feel like that's somehow part of like an essential feature of what like is uniting this.
Yeah.
I've actually formalized a humility operator in my framework too, along those lines.
Do you feel like we need to add it to the list, or is it already kind of implicit in one of the points?
somewhere we will have to write humility and awe.
Yeah, I think humility is really important. It's what makes you a brilliant scientist.
Yes.
But it's more than just science, it's about life. I think it's our relationship with God has to be grounded in humility, and what distracts us mostly is sort of the lack of humility.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
If I can show just earlier Matthew showed his phone. I have this background. I don't know if you can see it,
Yeah.
but coherence shaped by the future held with humility, and that would be wisdom as coherence by the delta of future recursion multiplied by epistemic provision or humility. And I just love the way that kind of encapsulates my feelings on why humility is prerequisite for any two minds to come together and build new autopoietic structure that neither one themselves could have come up with on their own.
So the Templeton Foundation actually, I think, would like something like this. I don't know if they still have it, but for many years they have something that's called the humble approach. And so they are, I don't know if you all know them, but they are a very big donor of sort of science interface with spirituality.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big on our list of funding. So let's go on to the other two. Basically, maybe we can take 5 minutes each, and then we have a lot more stuff to get through before the end. So let's look at the next one with core questions, and also try to vote for all of the ones you find especially interesting and relevant. I'll read through them just so we can kind of go through it together, but so first, to do a general but focused literature review of this, like a low-hanging fruit of complexity science, contemplative studies, and any previous applications, research insights that are useful for building this field. So this is almost like writing a review paper, right? And I think Ahmed's paper that recently came out is actually kind of already a little bit nice in that direction. What shared language bridges complexity science and contemplative wisdom? So this is the glossary that we were putting together. It's going to be on our website. And really, I think going more carefully into it would be really cool. How and in what ways do we understand contemplation through complexity science? So concrete methods, maybe. Why is this integration essential for our contemporary moment? So this is sort of applying these methods to specific problems of the time. How can contemplative practice generate rigorous transpersonal knowledge? Yeah, so this is like methods of contemplation to, apply like this personal individual introspection. Can that qualify as, good rigorous science? How does contemplative logic scale to social complexity? So social systems, can a group of people or a society be in meditation as a collective organism, even if, the individuals aren't necessarily? What shared practices produce wisdom, not just knowledge? So this is, can we go beyond just scientific knowledge creation? How can science rigorously discuss depth of being? I feel like this relates to this minimal phenomenal experience group, research group that goes into that. So what are our shared practices in order to produce wisdom in the community that we want to be producing? So how do we ourselves, as scientists, become the shamans of modernity in this sense of wisdom holders, not just knowledge holders? How and in what way can we recognize wisdom in a rigorous way? John Vervaeke has like a whole big part of his research addressing this, so it could be a cool starting point. Are there any qualities or values that we hope to cultivate and embody within this group, i.e. humility, things like that? Yeah. So I feel like not all of these are really like research questions, as in like, okay, let's get, three of us together and apply for a Templeton grant to figure out, what qualities we should cultivate in this group. Right. So maybe that should be like categorized separately of like questions, reflection questions versus research questions that we can, submit to Templeton for a grant. Right. So, for example, how does contemplative logic scale to social complexity, could be submitted for a grant. Um, I mean, I guess most of these are that way. The shared language question, I think could be, and it's a big one. Okay. Anyone have some burning comments?
I think we need to work further on this.
Yeah, so maybe,
Because I think I was in that group too, and I think, and it's
Mhm.
totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I could say, oh, this is the beginning. I'm not even sure it's the beginning. I think if how we frame it would be different, or I think that there's just,
yeah.
this isn't like this is, it's a hard thing, core research questions in 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes. Yeah.
Do you think it would be useful to have some like a shared doc that's available post-conference with this list and maybe other comments for people to add to
No,
and
different
sort of,
things. I've had very few experiences and things kind of sort of like this that works. My experience has been that when when trying to do things like this, narrow and focused and facilitated
yeah.
is really important. Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do you draw out core research? That's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I I don't know how to do that exactly. Just that
Yeah.
this is hard. I think this is great, but I think we just need
Yeah.
to relate, yeah,
Yeah.
loosely with these ideas at least at the moment.
I think this is a big I mean, it sounds like this is like a long list sort of brainstorming, which I think is the right starting point for this like core questions, is just put everything out on the table that's there and then try to, really emphasize what's important. So, here already this like what shared language is getting the most upvotes. So, you know, that can already be some sort of guidance to action.
Right.
Another one is what shared practices produce wisdom, not just knowledge. Yeah, that's a hard question. I think one criteria for core research questions is like doable, you know. So, and then what are our shared practices in order to produce wisdom in the community that we want to be producing? Yeah, how and in what way can we recognize wisdom in a rigorous way? And are there any qualities or values we hope to cultivate to embody within the group? Um, so I feel like I want to group like hmm, there's something like of this wisdom related in the group that maybe can be grouped under this. Um,
There is also the very interesting question, how does science go about recognizing its own borders, its own limits,
mhm,
which is somehow related there? And is there even a limit to science? So I often ask myself, what exactly do we call science and what is not science?
mhm, yeah,
But then very often science makes philosophical statements that are completely not grounded.
Mm.
Some
mhm,
of the lack of grounding in sort of philosophy is very surprising in science. And this is what is typically generating the worldview that confuses huge numbers of people.
mm,
So this is why so many people out there think they have to choose between science and
mm,
God.
yeah. Yeah, this goes back to the first question of what is the gatekeeping that makes this, good science versus bad science, right? Like how do we distinguish science from non-science?
I just want to
I,
share, like, again, I think my role here has emerged as somebody's got to be a contrarian. Um, and my like gut response to some of this is, yeah, really fascinating, but that is like that kind of, it's so big. It's a philosophy of science question. It's a meta science question. It's a question about, it's an epistemological question. it's
Mhm.
not about complexity science and
Mhm.
contemplative science.
Mhm.
It's which it doesn't make it, maybe that's what it should be. I don't know. But so I think we have to hold
Mhm.
some kind of constraint,
Mhm.
unless we say we don't want that constraint.
Yep.
Like, maybe like folks think that after 2 or 3 days of this, we need to rebrand. That
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think that that's important. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it'll be a little bit
Yeah,
too.
that's why the DNA of like what we agree on that others, right? Like that sort of, right? So some sort of like actual practical doable. I think it also goes back to this first question of do we seek knowledge or wisdom? Right? So if we really focus on seeking scientific knowledge and scientific results, then perhaps we can make more progress by restricting our attention to that domain, you know?
I
Hmm.
don't know. We didn't like. I feel like I don't know. I feel like we didn't spend. There weren't a lot of people reflecting on wisdom. There are people who do this.
Yeah.
There are really huge societies. There's a couple of really fascinating large meetings every year. There's Igor Grossman's work. There's a lot of folks who are studying wisdom
Yep.
in a really quite fascinating way with models and with huge data sets. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we're
Yeah.
in,
Maybe,
yeah.
Yeah.
maybe an interesting discussion would be like addressing um, maybe like the Stephen Jay Gould's idea of non-overlapping magisteria. Like I feel like we're sort of maybe challenging that idea a little bit here. Or does anybody have a comment on
Yes, I think non-overlapping magisteria is that would not be my own. That's not my preference. But I also see that's exactly the opposite of what this group is. This group wants
Right.
to bring it together.
Exactly.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the language we're going to keep coming back to language, whether it's on the list or not, which it is.
Yeah.
But even just trying to talk about physics and metaphysics, you're coming up with linguistic problems of what it means in one and what it doesn't mean in the other. And so I think trying to find perhaps making language and deciding or navigating what are those differences and how do we bring them into some kind of coherence together.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next session. I think this is bringing into actually the next exercise that we're going to do in a little bit, which is what do we want to do next? Like, should we have a, monthly seminar, some discussion sessions, some, sessions specifically being like, okay, let's invite a few contemplative researchers and ask them questions and be like, what do you need? How can we, as complexity scientists, how can we help you, all of that space of ideas we want to get to, but let's first get through the last section of shared assumptions. So I'm again going to read through them and feel free to upvote with pluses. So first is relational ontology. So interactions and relationships are just as fundamental as the components themselves, necessitating top-down explanation where parts are explained by the whole. Second is the insufficiency of reductionism. Phenomena cannot be fully explained by their lower level components alone. Reductionism is necessary but insufficient. The seed grow harvest epistemology, critical reflection on the process of research, going beyond mere data acquisition and generalization. In general, recognizing a cycle from an initial spontaneous insight through analytic unfolding, culminating in a mature fruit that can be shared. Science as a mode of revealing. A valid explanation is not just a model, but a tool to enhance our perception of the world, where scientific analysis acts as linguistic cue, from Gary Lupin's demonstration with the cigar, or I guess yesterday, Adam's demonstration with the cube and the hexagon. Which to me is like spell casting, right? So how does science create new spells that we can cast to transform our own perception of the world?
Also particular to the notion I was trying to introduce with revealing in the Heideggerian term.
Yeah, the interaction, the generative tension.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the primacy of tacit knowledge and practice, engaging in the world through practice, meditation, prayer, or technology, is ontologically fundamental, not secondary to theory. Okay.
Can somebody explain the last one a little bit?
Uh, hmm, I can try. Yeah. So, like, actually, Father Robert and I had a discussion about like how is it that we actually came to becoming curious about science and doing science, and I think about this in the context of like, well, as a kid, I was really interested in the natural world. I'd go out in the forest, and I was actually, I conceptualized that as a kind of practice. It was only through that I actually got interested in science and kind of more abstract conceptual knowledge. And so I think about that as a kind of like, okay, maybe that be like the ontological status of practice is actually comes before um, doing science or science knowledge or technology. Yeah.
Like somehow people think that classical mechanics makes sense, whereas quantum doesn't. But, perhaps that's just because we have embodied experience with classical things and we don't with quantum. Like that might be the only actual real difference, right? Because if we think that understanding is grounded in embodied experiences.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's a strong, everyone likes the last one. So
I have
focus
to
on
say,
the
I'm really surprised. I think it's very interesting.
Hmm.
Uh,
Which one
I'm
do you?
curious. What do people? What does? There's something I actually think that this last list is quite brilliant and exacting, kind of remarkable in the limited amount of time that you had to put this together.
Hmm.
And I'm still wrapping my head around some of these. What is it that folks think is so obviously essential and clear to you about the last one? Could somebody else who didn't write this speak to that? I'm curious. Those of you who wrote a plus on the primacy of tacit knowledge and practice as being fundamental.
Um,
Surprisingly.
I can speak to that, which is, I mean, to me, that's part of like my experience of contemplative practice and how I was introduced to it and how I was trained to it is it's this like often framed as this empirical thing. It's like, I can't explain this to you. I need you to do this thing. And there's a kind of insight you will get if you do this thing, and it's a meaningful kind of knowledge.
I see.
And so
I see.
for me, that's what this is pointing at. And it challenges what I tended to think previously around the only form of knowledge, which is like a specific kind of analytic.
So it's like what learning theorists call procedural learning, or what in the contemplative like meetings they call experiential learning. Is I guess maybe what I'm hearing you talk about. You talk about tacit knowledge.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
Maybe, yeah.
I was thinking more of like the Polanyi notion. I mean, it's been a while since I've read his work in tacit knowledge, but it's like there's like when people do science, even there's like an extraordinary amount of just like knowing how the experiment works, like knowing how the apparatus works. Like tacit knowledge is absolutely necessary in order to do science. Yeah.
I think it also reminds me too, just about the difference between knowledge and wisdom a little bit, even though it says tacit knowledge, and how that's conveyed too. But the sense that, yeah, wisdom is kind of more embodied and maybe conveyed or communicated less clearly than knowledge sometimes, but it's kind of like a fundamental way of knowing that's it shouldn't be ignored, I don't think, in these kinds of conversations.
All right. So we do need to move on. Diesel, do you want to real quick?
Just really quick to respond to Amit's question. At that last point, just reminds me of the methodology and life story of Nikola Tesla and how he operated in the tangible world after operating in his conceptual world, in constructing complex systems and EM field interactions. There's a lot of fascination in that, and I'll stop there because it's too long to explain any further.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I think this was the sort of discussion I was really hoping to have, so I'm really glad this is kind of going in these directions. So I'm just gonna now take a moment to share with you guys and explain a little bit about the website that we made. So you can see my screen, I think. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Notion.
yeah, so it's a Notion site. And basically just wanted to have some place on the internet where we can kind of feel as a bit of a home for this community. Currently, it's not a social network where you can write to each other just because, I don't know, I guess in the research world, it is not so much structured around social networks. But we do have the members directory, which there is this the Google Doc with the members directory that you should find yourself and update your information. If you're not on here, you can add yourself. If you are on here but don't want to be, you can delete yourself. So this is very editable and is supposed to be checking in. This has everybody on it. It'll be basically a link that all of us will have access to. It will not be available like through Google search. So it's not going to be listed, but it is public permission. So everybody with the link can access this. So your email is on here through where here, sort of, with the ats and the dots replaced with words. So I don't know, in case make it a little harder for bots to spam us. But anyway, so there's a background and interests, and a lot of this was kind of AI sourced, generated. So I asked it to look you guys up based on the websites you provided and by name, and to try to generate your interests roughly. So yeah, please do check it and correct it. It will then be uploaded to this database, which is going to be the link, and this is not editable, but it is easier to kind of view. So everybody gets a little card like this, and it's color coded by sort of your primary background topic of interest somehow. And there's, interests, and each one can be clicked to get more details. Right, so this is a Notion database.
I have just a question, Pavel, if I might.
Yeah.
I just see that Ivo Mensch is there and Benita Roy is there, but they haven't been at this conference. So how long has this group been going? Just wondering.
This is the database of everybody who has registered for the conference.
Okay. So they
Currently.
just didn't show.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, some people could only join for like a little bit, so maybe they like tuned in for some time, but yeah.
Okay.
So that's one. And then so this is a place where you can find each other's emails and connect for your one-on-one check-ins afterwards, or for, trying to form collaborations, applying for grants together, things like that. So yeah, rather than having like a social network with direct messaging capabilities, we just leave that to email. But for announcements, we will have a mailing list, which I guess you will all be added to it. But if you refer other people who might be interested in this, you can basically go on the homepage. There is this community updates thing, and you can just click on the stay in touch, and that takes you to a form to fill out, which also has a selector of if you want to be added to this directory, right? Somehow that should be clickable. I don't know. Anyway, so I think it's because I'm in like edit mode or something. So yeah, this is basically should hopefully work for a newsletter, which we will then send out, I don't know, with some sort of regularity. We'll see how that works. We still need to figure out who is gonna manage all this. So
Sorry, may I ask something?
yes.
I tried it yesterday to enter my information in the form, but it didn't work. So it was
Okay.
somehow inactive. I don't know
Yep.
why.
Okay, I'll add this to my to-do list. Newsletter. Okay, so here you can, yeah, you are going to be on it anyway, but thanks for letting me know, because we do need to make it work. Okay, and then from this page, there's a lot of, there's just an about page, which I'll update a little bit after this. This is reflecting the white paper that we had setting up the conference. There's a core questions page, which currently is all hallucinated. But basically, based on today's discussion, I'm going to update this one. And then there is a reading list page. which has some of these keys. So these are the pre-conference readings that we sent to you guys, which are just some of these like essays and papers that we think were core. Now, this should be an editable doc somewhere. Maybe Matthew, can you send links in the chat for the directory and the reading list, the editable
Sure.
reading list?
Yeah.
Basically, for the reading list, please add whatever sources, because a lot of people mentioned some cool sources during the talks. So maybe you can just add those things that you think are specifically pertinent and add a little bit of an explanation of what it is, maybe 2 sentences of, what it's about so that, people know whether they want to commit the time to actually read it. Yeah. And then we'll also, once that's set up, we'll upload it up here somehow. Okay, so that's the first. This is like the learn more section of the website. The second section of the website is resources. So this is based on the registration forms you guys all filled out in the beginning that had these questions about, what research centers are you aware of that are similar to this? What funding opportunities and publication outlets? So basically, we've also used AI to enrich that database with a bunch of other information and upload it here. So again, it's AI enriched, so it's not guaranteed to be correct. But we do have this nice list of different things. So this is sorted by relevance now. So some of these top ones are kind of the most relevant for this community. Right, so Clay in Brussels, I think is like a really cool group, the sort of research they do. Matthew here is a PhD student there. And Center for Study of Apparent Selves is the center that Thomas Doctor is running in Kathmandu, or it's mostly, I guess, online, but in Nepal based. And that's really about this bridge of AI complexity understanding and Buddhism. So how do we build an AI bodhisattva? The minimal phenomenal experience group relates to some of the stuff of how do we use neuroscience and cognitive science and predictive coding to really understand these no self, no thought cognitive states, meditative equipoise. Anyway, Center for Healthy Minds, Wisconsin is a big center. There's a big center in Toronto, East Lab. So all of these things, Mind and Life is on here. So this is a nice kind of reference for you to take a look at. If you go to the table view, there's all of these different fields, such as relevance to CSCC. You can sort or filter by any of this academic rigor. I mean, these are all AI kind of generated, so don't take these numbers too seriously, but somehow trying to rate them. Location, depending on where you are in the world, maybe you can visit some of these places. Institution type, if it's a place you can apply for a job to, or if it's like a collaboration network that you can just meet up with. Yeah. The next page here is going to be, what is it? Is funding opportunities. So these are the main sort of grant giving agencies that might be sympathetic to our cause. So of course, the John Templeton Foundation is the first entry. So it's a huge foundation that gives a lot of money basically to almost exactly this sort of research. So I think it's probably our top one choice for applying for grants. But it is quite competitive because of how big it is and how much money it gives. So not super easy to do, and the application process is quite a lengthy thing. So there is a time commitment and like the field with the application process, very detailed application, long review process, 6+ months, right? There's other ones that give small grants with a lot less work. 5% success rate in general, apparently. So, and they give multi-year grants. So that's a nice one. There's funding purpose here, right? Basic upstream research for community leadership or contemplative specifically. So Fetzer Institute is another place, and so on. So again, you can sort this, look through this, join with others to apply for grants from here. And then the other one is publication outlets, which again has a list of different journals that are related. Yeah, so there's some complexity journals up here. There's mindfulness journals. There's some some of these, the green ones are academic journals where you can publish papers. The purple ones are more like popular science. So Psyche, I recently published an article on precisely about this sort of thing, and they actually pay you to write for them. So that was nice. I got paid like $700, which of course, given the amount of time it took, is nothing. But yes, so and it has a pretty broad readership. So actually, a lot of the people who I got to invite to this conference reached out to me after that article got published because they were interested. So and the editor I worked with was very helpful and really had like deep insight into some topics, so it's cool. Noema magazine is where Mike Levin publishes a bunch of essays lately. Aeon is like related to Psyche, but anyway, so there's a lot of places. There's also places like Orbital Studies, which Xavier here is creating basically at the moment, and I'm really excited about his approach of how do we turn science writing into this thing that generates awe and contemplative sort of spiritual experience, right? So how do I write about my science in a way that really inspires others?
Which is that? That sounds very cool. What is
Orbital
that?
Studies. Orbital
Or,
Studies.
Orbit. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
So if you're interested, reach out to Xavier. So, and Seeds of Science is another, it's kind of like a blog platform, a very low key. They basically, I just sent them the article. They're like, yeah, it's cool, we'll publish it. And, so very easy access, and they publish pretty cool stuff. It doesn't have a huge readership, but nice for something that, you don't just want to post on your own website, but somewhere else. There's some, like Tricycle is a Buddhist magazine specifically. So there's some contemplative magazines, Lion's Roar. Anyway, so all of this is online. You can find it. And these lists aren't too long for now, so you can actually manage it. Okay, and the final section of the website is our language, which goes to, our community section. Language, this is the glossary we put together. So these are terms and definitions. It's a bit long, but terms and definitions that we kind of think that, if you want to do research and participate in this specific dialogue, then these are sorts of terms that you should be familiar with, right? There's a bunch of terms from complexity science, and those are like, edge of chaos or criticality, feedback loop, self-organized criticality, just self-organization. What do all these things mean? Universality. And then there is, and I feel like this list of terms in complexity science really defines what complexity science is to me. So Amit, like you were asking, what's the scope of complexity science? To me, like this list roughly captures it. And then above that is contemplative studies, which is a much shorter list because it's kind of harder to think of terms here. But yeah, there are certain like, what is dogma in a religious sense? Like, what does it mean? It's precisely this DNA of the community, right? Uh, God, of course, that's a very loaded word to try to define, but yeah. So then there is the practice menu that we sent you guys. I was really excited when we put that together just to have this like little sampler of these 10-minute practices that are sort of exemplary of, these wide variety of traditions, right? You can like do the Sufi rotations, whirling, indigenous sort of shamanic prayer, Christian contemplative prayer practice. Anyway, so I don't know. To me, it's just like really easy and curated access. Like all of these are YouTube videos or guidance materials that you can just follow along with immediately. So I feel like this is a nice thing to share with the broader world also, who are just curious, what's contemplative traditions like, and they can try it out. Okay, and finally, there's the blog, where I invite you all to keep this in mind as a place that you can publish something. If you have essays or maybe even, Jen, some of your poems, if you feel like you'd like to submit, this would be a cool place to just have some of this material that's specifically made by our community and reflect some of these values. So there is the update about the conference. I'm going to add some more stuff on here specifically for like a conference summary, and also we'll have transcripts of all these video recordings, which we will then run through AI to maybe turn into like topical articles, for example, gatekeeping in academia and this, science versus religion perceived divide, right? Basically have an article that summarizes everything we talked about on that topic, right? Yeah, and so this is roughly the website. Basically, every page has this navigation panel at the top with the little table. Yeah, do you have any thoughts, comments? The idea is for this to be useful and for this to keep our community alive. So,
Thank you.
Okay. So with this in mind, let's consider now, before we go into our little closing ceremony, what do we want to do next? How do we keep this alive? Sort of continuity. So this is the three questions that we had in the beginning, which are, let me see. Maybe Matthew, you can post them in the chat if you have them, or I'm just having a little being slow finding.
Yeah, I'll grab them real quick. Just give me one second.
Fine. Yeah. Okay, what is the best way you see to keep this community going? Second, what needs to happen today to enable that? And third, what is the best way that you would like to be involved personally? Right, and I'll just give us a couple minutes to, in silence, maybe reflect on this. So, what is the best way you see to keep this community going? What needs to happen today to enable that? And how would you ideally like to stay involved? And maybe Matthew, can you make a poll with those?
Father Robert, can you do that? Because I think you have the long answer option on your polls. But the questions are in the chat if anyone wants to take another look.
And when you have the poll, maybe you can just share that.
Let's see. I'm having trouble finding the poll. Here we go.
And also name in the poll, so we know who it is. Okay, and maybe we can start just discussing some of this. I'll make a new doc, and yeah, just throw out thoughts to this. Continuity.
I think for logical next steps would be to be in touch individually, so among ourselves, that we have pairwise conversations.
Yeah. So we were thinking it would be great if you, find someone, at least one person to reach out to for a future connection after the conference, because it immediately gives an easy talking point, right?
Would
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, please add in the document right away, so we don't have to talk it through. So any thoughts you have, this is brainstorming, so everything goes. Yeah, go ahead.
Like having some way of mapping the locations of each one of us, such that we'll have like local communities that may organize gatherings every once in a while, like to meet in person. This would be,
Yeah.
I think, very helpful for facilitating the emergence of
So
something interesting.
on the directory, there's a country, but I think there's no city. So maybe we
Yeah.
can add a city column as well to the directory, where people can, yeah, if you update your information there, then it should be. Mhm.
And then maybe people can, there can be another page that people can register for certain local, try to understand how we can cluster people
Mhm.
in such a way.
Yeah. I imagine local can be done better through a social network. So you can have like a group, like a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group, right, for local community so that there can actually be interaction and planning. Or what do you think?
We talked in our little group about platforms such as Hilo, right? Like
Mhm.
alternative platforms for.
Mhm. Nice. Cool. Yeah, I don't know about it, so we'll look into it. Mhm.
And Pavel, I had the poll ready. I finally remembered where the button was and everything. Do we still want that, or do you just want to go with the sheet for now?
Yeah, maybe let's still have it. I mean, the sheet will be up. So, yeah, just feel free to jot some notes in the poll as well, so that we have some of that permission also. Yeah, yeah, because this will be identified by name of specifically like what you're interested in.
Kept walking on somebody there on the Discord, sorry.
Yeah.
Was that you, Jen?
Yeah.
My bad.
So what else do we
Okay.
have on here? Let's see. So,
The, the nice thing about Hilo is it's got a kind of social aspect, but it's very much you can connect with people in the similar areas and similar interests. So it's not like a free for all, but it's not quite as closed as Mighty Networks. It's a good platform.
Nice. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, because Notion feels a little bit too non-social, right? Just it's a website up there, but you can't really interact with it. So, yeah, newsletter, regular meetings monthly. That seems to have some interest. So is this similar to a reading group or is this different?
Feels like it could be the same thing, but maybe if we're trying to constantly schedule what we're planning for that meeting, at some point somebody proposes, hey, let's read this paper, and then that becomes a theme. Another point, somebody says, I want to give a talk on paper or on this research, and that becomes a theme. Then we just have this recurring slot to put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a hybrid.
Okay. So, any topics for seminar series that people are specifically interested in? I know, Xavier, you were saying about causality.
Yeah, that was one. I wanted to work through some of the causal emergence stuff, which the softmax guys were also talking about. That's a reading group I want to run.
Great. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, so the beauty of the poll, if you want to answer that, and I think all the questions should be probably optional. So some of the ones, but specifically if there is a way that you would like to stay involved, and things you can offer. You can reflect on that in there, and that'll be kind of identified by name. But let's see, what about another conference? Conference. How do people feel about that?
I use this as an opportunity to thank you and say I really enjoyed this conference. I wasn't sure. I was very skeptical about an online conference, but I've actually felt quite connected to folks, and I feel like I've learned something. So, so I'm down for another conference at some point, basically.
Yeah. I'm gonna. You can also upvote here in person or online. I'm gonna put the two options. And in person, I guess location is also not super obvious, but we'll see from the directory where people are, but probably either Europe or the US. I guess we could be super ambitious and be like, okay, well, maybe have one online and one in person every year, but that might be a bit too much with like 6 months between. In person means that a lot fewer people can attend, and it's more commitment, but definitely creates more of a generative sort of container. And online is, lower key, bigger crowd, but has the barrier of screens between us. So.
For better for worse, for in person, maybe a thing to consider would be whether co-locating it with some other conference, either like as a workshop at another conference or a day before or day after, so that if people can like amortize the flight, basically.
What would be a good conference to co-locate it with? I know there is the main complexity conference, whatever.
There's a lot. There's the complexity side, and then there's the contemplative side.
Yeah.
I actually think that that's a very, I don't know exactly what will come of that or who will attend that, because when you go to those meetings and you actually need to dialogue with people who are already in those societies in general.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of the agenda.
Yeah. Wait, you're saying
that's a very practical solution.
Yeah.
Very practical idea.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the main themes right now are a regular meeting, community platform for interaction, I guess some sort of, blog that gives updates on ongoing research. And individual connections and next conference. Anything that feels like missing from that list? Bobby, do you know if the poll is going to be available after the meeting ends? Probably not, right?
Yeah, I think this kind is going to end when the meeting ends, but we can.
I guess we can send out a survey.
Yeah, but we can also replicate as a survey and then have try to aggregate that data afterwards.
I think the main thing is this volunteering aspect, because I think we have some sort of an aggregate here already for the other ones, but it's this question of how would you ideally like to stay involved, right? So yeah, maybe just feeling into, if you want to have an active role in participation, such as running a seminar series, or kind of organizing that regular meeting. Or, we could have several. We could have like a topical seminar series and the regular meeting in parallel. If you want to support with next conference organization, there's things like the newsletter and somehow managing that, setting that up and sending it. There is the website that'll probably need some sort of management. So, or really what would you really like to do? Like really think of what's exciting. Like what sort of involvement you wouldn't do it as a need to help out or whatever, but that you do even if no one benefited from it. Sort of you do for yourself, right? Yeah. what feels like a hell yes in your body, or heavens yes. Yeah. And so I think this is the sort of thing that we want to either maybe submit in the poll right now, or you can voice, or write in the doc.
You're not, guys. I'm actually really tired.
Mhm.
And I just maybe would add things, but I'm just like, yeah, I think I've run out of steam.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that too as well. Okay, well, we'll have a follow-up email at some point, maybe in a few days, where maybe we'll ask for this sort of thing again.
I would, yes, ask again.
Yeah, yeah. But keep this in mind as you go along, because honestly, like maybe there are creative solutions. A lot of these sorts of things are right. Our mind goes to things we are familiar with that we've experienced before. But really, maybe there are new things. Like something I really like is I stay in eco villages and co-living communities, and just having a retreat, or I like if I'm living in a eco village, like just have a few people come and stay and visit and hang out together, right? Like that could be a really fun way. Actually, the mindful research retreat that we did, I'll actually put this on here as well. Mindful research retreat. It's just right. We lived for 2 weeks in a house together and hung out and talked about these sorts of ideas and basically worked on our own research. So we had full work time. And so try to think outside the box maybe in these next couple of days as you come up, and we'll send some sort of a poll where you can add this information afterwards. Let's see. Okay, what else do we have left from our core point? I guess we're going into the closing ceremony now. Yeah, let me just run through a few logistical points, and then we'll take a minute to close. Hopefully, we won't run too much over time. So, okay, reach out to one person for one-on-one, I said. Add to the reading list, I said. Upload your videos that you recorded, please. So far, I don't think many people uploaded. So from the discussions you were in, whatever recordings you have, please
Yeah, and Pavel, I
Mhm.
think it's something that I think I was given as a co-host. I recorded for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get an email. I think that there might be a pipeline thing with those recordings. I'm
The
not sure who
recordings,
they're being sent to.
the recordings are saved to your local computer. It's in your docs folder. There's a Zoom folder which has the recordings. So if you record it, it
Oh,
gets,
that's why, because it wasn't recorded on the cloud. That might
yeah,
be why. Got
yeah.
it.
That's why we need this whole thing for uploading, because it just gets saved locally. Yeah. Yeah, check out and use the website and the platform, and also send me any comments or thoughts you have about this. And the YouTube channel where all of this was streamed to and all the recordings are going to be uploaded to. Please share it with whoever you think might be interested. And then, they can sign up for the newsletter on the website and stay in touch. Maybe we'll migrate to high-low from the Notion site. I don't know. And then, yeah, maybe look out for a next meeting like this. Probably, I don't know, a year from now or so. We'll see if it's in person or online, or yeah, maybe we co-organize it. All good ideas. And we'll try to set up some sort of a regular meeting series. Okay, let's take a moment for a closing ceremony, finally. Now that we've had all this intensity today, quite a different sort of day than the other ones. A lot of thinking, a lot of discussing. Just sit with our back straight, feet on the floor. And just take a moment to really relax. We're not lying down, but intuitively you can imagine yourself lying in Shavasana on your back, so that you can fully relax all your muscles, almost shut down your system. Let your active doing self hibernate so that all the insights can integrate using the wisdom of the body that Mike Levin was teaching us about. Everything that we need to remember from this conference, our mind will remember. And everything that we forget, we didn't need to remember. Really just trusting our system, our mind, our body, our inner wisdom, to take everything that we need to take away from this and for the future involvement and evolution of this community to unfold in the way that it needs to for our greatest benefit and the greatest benefit of all beings. I'm just tuning into the gratitude for this opportunity to connect with like-minded people, to share ideas, for the technology that allows us to do it, and the complex networks of the internet and of society and of global supply chains that make this possible. And for the opportunity that we have to improve these, to really enact our insight and our own personal wisdom. And with that gratitude, coming back and opening our eyes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Hope to see you all soon. Stay in touch.
Thanks very much.
Yay! We did a thing! Woo! Power pose. I like to embody the excitement afterwards.
All right, well, hope to see you guys again soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for coming.
I'll be
Thank you
reaching
very,
out.
very much.
It was a lot of fun.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
It was great meeting everyone.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, Diesel, thanks for your offer with the domain and just with help. Yeah. I'm sure we'll need it. Do you have a sense of what you would most like to, I don't know, help with?
We could talk about that over time with what the need is. So
Yeah. Well,
um,
I listed the off the top of my head's needs, but yeah.
yeah, let me figure out what I can contribute,
Yeah.
and I'll
Just
send you
feel
an
into it.
email with some stuff.
Right now, I see like this platform management stuff is going to be I don't
that,
know what it involves, but it'll involve something. So
yeah, the Notion site I was thinking would be one for sure.
yeah. Mhm.
Be more of an organizational and semantic structure
Yeah.
than I am in a verbal communication sense. So
Yeah. Yeah, we're using AI to generate blog posts, That's always great.
that too.
So, yeah.
So all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will have the transcripts from today to go with
Oh
the
yeah.
ones from yesterday, and I'll
Yeah,
send those
thanks
to
so
you.
much for that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. So you used your own transcriber or what?
Yeah, I just built a tool yesterday after we got done, and I was like, I should transcribe these. So I made a tool that I could just pop the link in and get a
Okay.
transcript in about 10 seconds and
Nice.
turn those around. So
What platform are you using for the thing?
DeepGram.
Yeah, yep, I know. I just actually built an app with a friend that's That's using also deep gram as a
Their
background.
diarization is like unmatched.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, yeah, it's so good.
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, Diesel.
See you
Yeah.
later. Good to meet you, Wolfgang.
You.
Okay, bye. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Wolfgang, nice to see you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is the community going well? Your group?
Which one?
The mindful researchers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking with me. Yes, we're a little bit in a still kind of summer hibernation mode vis-a-vis community activities, but
Yeah.
going to resume them very soon. Kind of preparing things, preparing the Hilo space now.
Yeah.
Starting
Yeah, I'm curious. We
some
should
kind
like think of if there are ways we can integrate
Yeah.
weave this together somehow. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think also, I mean, Hilo would be insofar maybe a good candidate because it's also, I mean, I think Jen also mentioned it, that it is one of the ideas of it is that the various communities that are hosted on the platform can interact with each other as well. So it
Nice.
has a bit of this community of communities aspect.
Oh, that's
When you
good.
think about it, if you have several sort of topically focused
Yeah.
communities that are aligned,
Mhm.
and then it could be, so I hope that maybe at some point there could be like the mindful researcher space, the CSCSC
Yeah.
space, the
Yeah,
Mindful Europe related space, and people who are somewhere can easily follow the links to the others or post in various of them at the same time.
So what is it? Is it like similar? Like, can you make a website like the Notion site I showed on there, and then like how does
It's more like Mighty Networks, if you're
Yeah, it's more
familiar,
like
but
Mighty
it's
Networks.
free, and I heard they have like better data privacy things too, and like the company's just like a little more progressive.
Yeah. I think I mean, my understanding of it is that they're also, I mean, they have a really good sort of intentions behind it and sort of how they're running, and sort of like their own internal governance, but also, at least for now, because it's not yet so huge that there are like thousands of organizations on it, or maybe there are, but most of them are small. So they have these regular community calls. It's easy to propose features. I mean, they're still in development, but it's sufficiently developed that you can meaningfully use it. And so there is this, it's not like Mighty Networks where like this big company and they just try to scale and then milk the money out of all the communities by selling you features. And that is not what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I hope it stays that way, but I think
Yeah, you never know.
I think it does.
Okay, so it's not something like it wouldn't like replace the Notion site.
It
It
doesn't
would
have to replace it at all. No, no. I mean, you could have it for the sake of, let's say, for threaded discussions.
I don't hear you.
Those you could put there, but you could then have the Notion site as a major resource that you're linking from it. Like you put a custom link there to the Notion site.
Yeah.
So these things can very well interact with each other. I think.
Okay. So they don't have the like page features like Notion does, or I guess database
Not
features.
really, no. That's
sure.
the kind of functionality. I think the functionality of Notion would be best. Yeah, it would indeed be best if you have. It's like you have the community space for like member profiles, all that stuff, and cross sort of messaging, maybe putting events there. But for resources and pages and sort of knowledge bases, those maybe are best then as a sort of external link.
Yeah.
Put prominently on the space. That would be my guess. So could be a good combination. I don't know, but
okay, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And some people here know it, like Jen spoke before, now you, Matthew. So it's quite nice. Yeah. Some people could maybe support the effort. I would be happy to support it.
Great.
Anyways, I stopped talking because I talk too much.
Yeah, that's good.
Very good. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks a lot for this.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you guys think? See you. Yeah.
Okay. But now that you asked the question, I will just say that I so appreciated the balance of both the content and sort of the intellectual stimulation, but the practices. It was wonderful for me. But anyway, I think you asked the question to Matthew and Robert mostly for your debriefing, so I'll jump off.
I guess kind of, but you know, you also run these things very similar something, so you know, I feel like you have a lot of
No, but I was really impressed with like the way it is held and with care and curiosity and a kind of
yeah,
a very good balance. Like there's a humility in it, but also it's not arbitrary or all over the place. Like
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
thread. I don't know.
Mm.
Whatever I say, it will be a positive thing. I was really, really very happy.
Cool.
So
Yeah, thanks.
thanks a lot, really.
Mm.
Okay, now I jump
Okay.
off. Okay.
All right. Yeah, see you. Be in touch.
See you.
Cool.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So we met with Gold Wolfgang at Plum Village.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There was a retreat for researchers, for scientists.
Mm-hmm.
He runs a mindful researchers online community, I guess.
Mm.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Woo, we're done.
Yeah.
We finished the whole
Nice.
thing. Yes. Nice.
Mhm.
Even Bobby did the power pose. I feel like that's an achievement. Hi. Mm,
Nice.
yeah. Phew.
Yep, it's going.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, today felt kind of intense for me, at least. I felt like
Mm.
I was kind of stressing a lot throughout. So
Mm.
sorry, Bobby. I think I was kind of hijacking your session.
No, that was good though, because I think that's part of the benefit of having two people running it,
Mm.
is because I was just thinking I had my list in front of me from our planning thing, and I just need to do the things that are on the list.
Yeah.
But when I'm in that mode, I can't actually pay attention to like, okay, but what's happening in the group? What's the vibe? And so I was
Yeah.
very happy that you jumped in because that really drew out a lot of participation I think wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of good participation definitely came up, and I don't know, in a lot of ways it did go kind of exactly as I was hoping
Mm.
it
Yeah.
to go, or
Nice.
what I feel like what I was at least going for.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, you know, we definitely went quite far from the plan. But
Mm-hmm.
Matthew,
It
do you
was
have any?
good. Yeah, no, it was nice. Really interesting. And yeah, last day was a little it was nice. Yeah, more interactive. Um
Mhm.
yeah, I was happy to be a part of it. It was
Mhm.
really cool. Lots of interesting people, interesting ideas. The keynote today for the first like 20 minutes, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm following this. But then
Mhm.
eventually kind of came back around. Um
Really?
mhm.
So it felt like
But
less relevant to the contemplative stuff?
in the beginning, it did. And then I saw how he kind of brought it back at the end, which was nice. Um, hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Well, that matches my expectation of that talk. Like when I, you know, when we were inviting him, like he's not so contemplative, he's more of a scientist. So I was like, yeah, that's
I
probably going
bet.
to happen.
Yeah.
But my experience of the talk was definitely not that. I was like, from the
Mm,
beginning, I was like, this is so good. This is so
mm,
relevant. And this is
mm,
exactly it, right? Because this
mm,
perception of like blue versus green thing, how, you know,
mm.
just, yeah, how language, just these magic words, like the cigar thing, are just
Yeah. I
incredible.
love the term they used because I've thought about that before myself a little bit. Spell casting.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to put it, I
Yeah.
think. And that's kind of, yeah, exactly what he did.
Yeah. Also with the cigar, I just that blew my mind, right? That it's like, here,
Mm,
I took you a picture. Now I'm gonna say a magic word, and you will never see
hmm
this picture the same way again.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how hard you try. And it's
Yeah.
just the fact that it works, and now I look at it and I just can't go back to,
hmm
you know, I couldn't see the cigar for a long time. For the
Mm,
first like 5 minutes, I was like, what are they talking about? Until he specifically described it. And now I can't go back to seeing him the other way.
yeah. That was a funny detail. He's like, "You're never gonna go back to seeing
Yeah.
it that way,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try."
That is so intense. Oh, and the lost thing. Anyway, yeah, I definitely I'll email him directly with questions and thoughts. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, love that research. Okay.
Yeah, because so I guess kind of the immediate tasks right now. I don't want to jump from our celebration into like the stuff to do, but just that
You need to go in like 10
you're
minutes, right?
yeah. So, but you're mentioning that email just reminding me that we should like send some thank you emails to the keynotes, I
Yeah.
guess. Which I guess we already have the keynote thread. So I don't know if we want to
Yeah.
do something together, individually and together.
Mike Levin already emailed me yesterday just asking for some details and whatever.
Great,
So I already sent him basically
awesome.
a thank you email. Yeah,
Yep.
to the
Yeah, so
other.
I'll send one to Martin.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool because he was like, I felt like not quite on board with the whole complexity contemplation
Mhm.
thing. He's
Mm,
right, but at the same time, I don't know, like his enthusiasm and presence was,
yeah,
the
Yeah,
other ones like just did the talk and left, and
yeah.
so
he
that
was
was
the most
that was.
like yeah pleasant surprise for me this conference. I had come across his research as an undergrad,
Mhm.
and I recognized his name, and I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be like super um strictly scientific, and then he just comes with all these other things, and I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. Um, yeah, and I know this someone was telling me, I forget who, that Martin Nowak was basically the whole reason why they even learned about complexity and systems thinking and all that. And basically,
Hmm.
they're, I think, now doing a PhD in that. And he was like the single figure that got them into this direction of science. I'm
Interesting.
like, wow, okay. So,
Mm,
uh, anyway, yeah, I have a bunch of to-dos that I wrote for myself, but they're more like
mm,
personal oriented, like writing email to Gary with a few questions. Um, the migrating databases, the whole members thing, the whole, right. I guess there's like the follow-up email.
Yeah.
Maybe let's write what needs to be in this. So update member directory, add reading list, um, share YouTube, just all of our little admin points.
Yeah, and I guess in your email to Gary, you could ask him specifically for the papers that he mentioned in his talk because he had a lot of literature he was citing in his talk that looks super interesting for if anyone wants to go deeper in that space, both his own work, but also just like these seminal papers in linguistics that he was referring to.
Yeah, yeah,
mm.
yeah, that's good. Mm, okay. What else? There was this survey with just these three questions or something else.
So I guess if we're making a new survey, so I just put the results of the in meeting survey in the chat if you guys want those.
Yeah.
So if we're making a new one, we could have it just more focused on like how do you want to stay involved. Um,
Mm.
So what
well,
question?
so I guess maybe it's just two out of the three because like what needs to happen today is no longer relevant because it's not today anymore after
Yeah. Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
But
Mm,
we could keep the other two, I guess.
Yeah.
mm.
Let's see. Day 3. Um, and yesterday's survey I have somewhere, maybe. I think I downloaded it. Did I lose it? Anyway, so how would you like to stay involved? There could be the core questions.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also kind of thinking, actually, maybe the survey that I didn't send yesterday,
Mm.
the basically the second day's post,
Yeah.
would that be appropriate? It doesn't have the how to stay involved, but it does have the core questions, or like some modifications of that.
Yeah, so I guess if on that one we just added the name, and how do you want to stay involved to that same survey that you could just send out the same link.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Name, how do you want to stay involved? But there's also, I think there's something that's not relevant on there, right? Anymore. I don't have.
So it says core questions, how to keep the community going, what's best benefiting you, how you like actually stay involved is already on there.
Okay. Okay, so I guess those are all relevant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good work.
Although I don't know, like how to keep a community going. Maybe we already did enough of that we don't need
Hmm.
to do it again.
Yeah.
Although no, I did ask people to reflect on creative ways.
Yeah, so that could be good.
For the core questions, I wonder if we need to specify like things you could apply for a Templeton grant too, right? Because it's like core research questions, not like what are we most confused about right now? So,
yeah, that whole discussion was a little bit meta. So we kind of had a little bit of like what are even or like what would be the methods we would use? Are we looking for wisdom? Are we looking for knowledge? I think what you said at one point that it's we're really going for more of that like empirical is I don't think everyone understood that within that group.
Yeah,
and I think that's
that makes sense. Yeah. How was facilitating that? Was that intense? I don't know. For me, like facilitating that discussion was quite difficult, the one I was leading.
Yeah, a little bit. Let's see. I think it was good, but yeah, it was a little bit meta. And me, I'm also kind of prone to those like reflective questions. So yeah, it also kind of I'm not like, all right, let's make this list right now. Like, what are the best questions? It's more so kind of like seeing where things go. Um, but it was interesting. I mean, it was a good discussion. We had a good discussion about kind of even how to go about the research and stuff. And I really got the sense that Amit, is that his name? He really was like reels back into like the more academic focus. Quite a lot. He kind of did that a lot in the discussion.
Okay, so good. So someone was there for that role. I guess I don't need to record this. I should have stopped the recording after the breakout, maybe, but we'll see.